There's a bunch of things about the house which have become known to me through the removal of things like plaster, for example, this straight joint between myself and the neighbour, which seems to be just sort of zipped together with a few of these crossing bricks. That's a little bit of a worry. I'm not sure about the security of that straight joint, whether or not it's moved at all. I want to say it hasn't, but like, how much does it take for that to just unzip and for this entire corner of the house to fall off? That's a worry. Other worries are things like lintels, which I had thought were in bad condition, being actually in terrible condition. Yeah, just generally the risk of continued degradation of the property. So what I've done is I have hired a project manager. I've finally been able to find somebody who I feel confident in, and we're going to see how this plays out. Hopefully this is a good decision. I think it's going to drain some money, but at the same time it should hopefully stop me from needing to do things twice. For example, I originally met him because I'd invited him to come and quote for re-rendering the outrigger that I'm in now. And he basically turned up and was like, no, not the right time to be doing render work. That's going to be disturbed repeatedly over the next couple of years for doing lintels and this corner window that I want up here. And I think that's a very good point now that it's been raised. But obviously none of the other contractors had told me that, because if you're a contractor and you're quoting for something and you tell someone that they shouldn't be doing the job that they're quoting for, then you've talked yourself out of work. In his case, however, it ended up with me hiring him as a project manager, so I guess it played off well. I do worry. I have a deep sense of unease for the future. I think purchasing the property was the correct decision, and now I'm here and I'm looking out at the sea, and it's gorgeous and it's a beautiful day. And I just think like this is why I'm here. This is what I bought it for. And when this is an office in here, and I'm spending 90% of my life here because I have 2 full-time jobs on a computer, then this is going to be just such a nice place to be, and it's the kind of house that I can live in forever. So I don't regret it. I'm just concerned about the costs. I want to put things right, and that's going to take some money. So first up, we got the roof that is being done in June, so that's coming up pretty quickly. And then after that, I just need to address some structural things. Lintels definitely need sorting. There's some timber lintels which are rotten. I'm concerned about dry rot, and I am concerned about them not actually being structurally sound. I got a skip, just an 8-yard skip, builder skip. I have a bunch of bricks outside. I was hoping to be able to take down the outhouse, but I don't think that's going to be possible because the outhouse is mortised into the house. Like it's a concrete slab for the roof, and that is mortised into the actual gable of this outrigger. So I need to get a structural engineer to come and inspect that and to check that it can be removed and how it can be removed. And I need to get quotes for somebody else to remove it because it's simply too much of a job for me. I was hoping I could just smash it with a hammer, cut it up myself. That is not looking realistic now that I know that it's actually supporting the house. It's in the house. So when I get the structural engineer, I can ask them about this joint, and I can ask them about a bunch of other stuff which I've been making a list of. So hopefully that will all just get done this year. The main thing is just for me to do the outside of the house. Basically, I need to get it weatherproof. I need to get it sealed. Once the roof is done, that's going to be the majority of the work, honestly. And then other than that, it's just a few lintels. Windows will be replaced, but that's a later job. Just chimney is going to come down as part of the roof. It's just the question marks make me worry. At my age, in my financial situation, I'm just deeply concerned, like, what happens if we uncover something when they take off the render and they say, oh, you're going to need to replace 60% of the bricks in this outrigger. That's going to be £200,000. Like, what am I going to do in that situation? That's really scary. And I just hope it doesn't happen. Man, buying houses shouldn't be this terrifying. Although I probably asked for it because bought such a neglected house. Okay, what's my goal for today? I'm going to be moving bricks into the skip. I'm going to empty my green wheelie bin into the skip, and then I'm going to buy a strimmer and do my garden. Turning into a bit of a bramble patch, so that does need gardening this week. Also, I can finish emptying the front of my basement. That has been on my to-do list for a really long time now. And I need to take down the ceiling in there so that I can inspect the joists before I get the structural engineer in, just to double check that the joists are okay. Anything else I need to do? Taking off radiators. There's a bunch of work. This house has so many jobs that I can be doing. So there we go. I should probably get to it because it's midday already and I haven't done anything yet. Just found this crazy number of tabs from like beer cans. Like thousands of them. And there's not just one bag either, there's 3. Another thing that I'm a little bit worried about is how rotten some of the wood in this basement is. I mean, it's shocking. I've never seen wood with so little structure. This whole corner here, because the water, I mean, you can see this window. This is the problem, right? This hole is because the water has run down into this light well. The ground level is here. You can just see that through the cloudy window there. So if the ground level is here, and the water has gone into this light well, there's no drain in here for some bizarre reason. And so what's happened is it's come underneath the window. Over the last 130 years, it's just washed out that timber. The ground is sodden, the concrete is sodden. The wood that is down here has basically been allowed to sit in water. Probably gonna get this tanked in here. I was told it's gonna be up to £20,000 to do that. That's a terrifying number, but at the same time, once it's done, it is then done. I know I've spoken about tanking before, but this room is a little bit different because we are below ground level for most of it. And so tanking in here is probably the only way to actually avoid actual water coming through. There's another day down. It is just about 5 o'clock now, so I've been here a little while, but quite a lot of progress actually. I was not sure how much I was going to get done today. But it looks like I've got basically this whole front basement room now finished. It had already been worked on a bunch, but we're actually back to the walls now. So tomorrow, the plan is to take down this ceiling. I've done 2 now, so this shouldn't be too onerous. Although this is the largest expanse of ceiling, I think, although it has been disrupted already, so hopefully it won't take too long. Do have some permanent features in here, like the cold slab for the meat. So this is like a Victorian refrigerator, because they didn't have fridges, so they would put the meat down in the basement on the cold slab. So I've just covered that with cardboard for now to protect it, because I do want stuff like that to be preserved. Good day today. I think an 8-yard skip is actually very small. It seems to be approximately 4 carloads, and considering that I was doing, I don't know, I've probably done 30, 40 carloads to tip already. A skip is actually very small. So I'm about 2/3 full, maybe 3/4 full on the skip. I'm hoping I can fit the roof in there, the ceiling, but I think beyond that I'm not going to be able to put anything else in the skip. Whether I need to is another question. I don't think I will. It's very cathartic working on a house, especially, like, I'm a 3D artist, so my entire career, whether I am making 3D art professionally or whether I am teaching other people to make 3D art, 100% of what I do is virtual and doesn't really, you don't end up with anything. You got nothing to look at, you got nothing to show for it. You just got some like JPEGs at the end of it, which is fun. But working on a house is like, I mean, obviously it's a real thing, and you do it and you can see that you've done it. And that's just really nice. I think it's very underrated. The other thing as well about this house is if I don't fix it fast enough, if I don't budget well enough, and if I don't earn enough money to stay on top of the work that I need to do, it will take everything that I've ever made, all of the money that I've ever made, everything I've saved, and it will put me into debt if I fail to do this. So there is a huge pressure to actually, I can't just sit on my laurels and let it be. I have to make good, because otherwise I'm fucked. Oh, good morning. Quite an easy one today. in terms of the actual work. I mean, I've done roofs, I've done these ceilings before. Oh man, I have just spiders all over the place in here. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think there's going to be a lot of animal life on top of these in terms of spiders. There's been a huge amount of spider webs in here. So that's going to be different to the rest of the house. The rest of the house has actually been fairly devoid of creatures. Just need to pull down the ceiling today. That's all I'm doing. It's probably still going to be the whole day, but there we go. Just need to get to it. Grab my crowbar, get yanking. Got this final room done today, which is excellent news. So all of the ceiling is down. Actually came down fairly easily. I was a bit worried when I first started. I was thinking I was going to have to spend 2 days on it because these first sections up here were just not budging. They were coming in such small pieces. But once I got into the main section, like past this double joist, it all started running quite nicely. So pleased about that. Got the whole thing down, cleared up. It's in the skip. The lads are in the skip. The plaster is swept up and hoovered. So a nice, clean room. And it's nice to think as well, like this is probably the cleanest this room has been in getting on 40 years. Because it was lived in and it was neglected. And another thing which is like quite alarming actually is there were chemicals in here that I took out. There weren't chemicals, that's the thing. There were cans that chemicals had been in down here. So there was like turpentine and other such flammable liquids in metal cans that had rusted out the bottoms. And because the bottoms had rusted out, all of the fluids had run out across everything. So for example, there was one down underneath the cold slab and it has basically just melted all of the plastic bags as well as a plastic polyurethane canvas sack that was being used as a tool bag. So there's just like all of these chemical reactions that are going on down here as everything rotted. And the previous owners didn't have any smoke detectors. There was no way that they could have discovered if there was a fire down here. Not only that, but there were cats coming and going down here. And I expect that the chemicals are why I found dead cats. That is just all part of it, I guess. But we're back to bare metal now, which I'm pleased about. I do think this front wall is going to need some serious attention. Front window as well. I need to actually block up. So we are now clear with the house. There is really nothing left that still requires tidying up, which is amazing. Like that feels like such a turning point now. This room has been weighing on me a little bit, knowing that I had this ahead of me, and I'm really pleased that it only took me like 2 days to get it cleared out. So yeah, clear. Good afternoon. Today is an outdoor day. I've got this whole scrubby patch of lawn that has just been really badly neglected. So I've got Spanish bluebells down the end, a lot of elder, a lot of docks, a lot of dandelions, and a bunch of bramble. So that's my day today. Going to be stripping out as much of that as I can. Bought the strimmer, bought a rake, got some secateurs. So there we go. Just a little bit of gardening. Going to be nice to be outside. Glad it's not raining today, so I was going to have to do it regardless. There we go. I'll see you on the other side. Surprisingly, found that actually the whole garden is concrete underneath. So there's only like 3 inches of turf on top. Not sure where the edges are, but I should try and roll back the full turf. It'd be nice to have it as a lawn, but to do that I think I'm going to need to actually tear up all of this concrete. But a yard would be nice and manageable for now anyway. There we go, I am done. You can see the garden is nice and clean. I believe we actually managed to get it done. I was just strimming it out today, so it was quite a bit of work, but not too horrible. The strimmer went through it quite nicely, which was good. That's what I was hoping. It was too lumpy for a little push along lawnmower, and You can see like this dark brown area in the middle here. That is where I've sort of torn it back to the actual earth. There's a lot of concrete underneath there. It's basically one big slab. I don't think it definitely doesn't come all the way to the house. So I need to work out where the slab actually is. So now I am down a few bluebells, although they were just Spanish bluebells. A lot of brambles have come out, and some of them were literally, inch and a half across. So yeah, I think I'm not really sure what the next stage of this is for the garden. I'd like to tackle the front garden because that's a bit scrubby, and I would like to get, I would like to get it scratched back to the slab, and then I can just keep it as concrete for a couple of years while I work on the house. So it's not a priority, and it doesn't require any maintenance. That would be ideal. So I think probably scratch back to the slab in June, I want to say. So I'm just going to keep it short for the coming weeks, and then when the roof is coming off, I'll come and tear back that. Yeah, lots to be done on this house, but job by job we're getting there. Something that is probably very obvious to most adults kind of older than 40, and maybe less obvious to those of us that are like internet generation. But this is something that I've been learning, or I don't know, it's such an obvious thing when you say it that everybody knows it, but you kind of don't know it, if that makes sense, until you really start saying it repeatedly. And it's just, no matter how much a job sucks, if you start, it'll end. All you've got to do is start and just do it for a bit. And it was like such a dumb thing today, because I had a big pile of brambles. Literally my car is full, my van is full of brambles. Some of the brambles are really thick as well. I didn't really want to have to pick them up and deal with them. But you just do. And I think that's the thing with these real life projects. You can't just close the window and forget about it if you don't want to do it. It's literally a pile of it's a pile of brambles. I can't not see it. It's in the middle of the garden. Everybody else can see it. It has to be dealt with. And this might seem really stupid and obvious because obviously, if you do stuff gets done. But I don't know, it's just one of those things. I think as well, because everything that I do, all of my hobbies, all of my business, and all of my job are 100% the same thing. They're just making digital art. So I'm very narrow in what I do, and what I do is extremely computer-based. So the idea of just being I don't really want to have to do this, and then just kind of not, you can just not do it. You just close it. It'll still be there tomorrow, you can do it later. But with this house, when I make a mess, I just have to fix it. I just have to do it, and it's never that much work. Tidying up, it took me about an hour just to move this pile. That's not that long. Most of the effort was just walking from the pile to my van. It wasn't even it was heavy stuff. It was sharp, to be fair. I don't know, I guess the point is that if you do stuff gets done. And that was just very cathartic to kind of know that, to see that. Hey folks, back today to do a little bit of carpentry, which is going to be fun. I haven't done any in a long time, but we can see here, this is the bottom of the window, and this is outside. So it's all completely rotten. It's dry rot down here, so we can see it sort of breaking into these chips. Yeah, it's really not in a good way. It's very easy to just sort of pull bits off. So I just need to be careful with the spores. This is down a light well, so I suppose really I don't need to be too worried about intruders or anything. It's not like you can see that it's damaged from the road. So yeah, for opportunists it's not really a problem. But obviously if something did happen, insurance is not going to be happy about this window. So what I need to do, I bought a bunch of timber, I've got a drill, I've got a router, I've got a bunch of other stuff. So I can start putting together a bit of a window here. It's going to be a bit interesting because it needs to fit these glazing units, and I don't actually really know what size those are because I can't measure them because they're in the frame. And one of them is in an opening casement on that right hand side there. So yes, just need to work out how to actually build this window. I'm not going to do it the proper way. It's not going to be properly mortise and tenon in the corner. It's just going to be probably like I'm just going to create all of my rebates in all of the long timbers, and then I'm just going to cut in so it's just sort of lapped in together, and then I'm just going to screw it together after that. So it's just going to be screwed for now. This is only a temporary window. All of the windows are going to be replaced with proper UPVC ones at some point in the next couple of years. This is really just to make sure that that issue there does not stay a risk. Right, so my plan is very simple. I have a fairly well rectangular hole from the current window. So it's pretty much rectangular anyway. There's a slight slant on one side. So I can pretty much just do it the exact same size fairly well. I measured the glazing units, which fortunately I actually could do because on the outside you can access the sides of them, which isn't good. So that's that. And then once I worked out the size that I had left over from the overall size, subtract the windows, turns out it's quite wide because of that opening casement in here. So what I'm going to need to do, I think, is actually make my window a little bit smaller, and then rather than have it be, I'm not going to have an opening section, I'm just going to have it solid for now. Hopefully I don't die in a house fire. But what I need is to make it the same size glazing units, and then have, really these need to go narrow side in like this. So I can rebate down on each side a little bit, sort of 10 mil, and meet those in the middle. And that's going to leave me a fair space on one side, about 100 mil, about 4 inches on one side that I'm going to need to get an infill for. I would have got bigger timbers, but these were the longest I could actually fit in my van. The other ones were like 4.8 meters. Not really sure whose vehicle that's good for. So that's my plan. I'm just going to take all of this timber and I'm just going to rebate the whole lot. I'm just going to run a profile down it, just a square cut like this. So we have, here is our 62 by 38 piece. And I'm just going to rebate in on one side. This will be for the outside. And then on the other one, there'll be a, sorry, on the center vertical, there'll also be the same thing. Now, conventionally with timber windows, where you put your bead in as an external piece of wood and you pin this would be on the outside of the window. And the reason for this is that water can come in against the window, come down inside your beading, and it can't come into the house. It can only go back out. That's the idea. In this case, however, I'm actually going to be putting the beading on the inside. Hopefully I don't regret that. This is only a temporary window, as I said, though. And the reason is because I need to screw where the window is, where the actual glazing unit is. This is how it's going to be fixed into the house. There's going to be a screw here going into the wall. And because I can't really access the outside to pin these in, I basically need to pin these into the inside. So that I can fit the frame, put the glazing units in the frame. I really hope it fits at that point. And then I can put in these beads to hold the glazing units in. Hopefully that's all going to work. Got all of the routing done. So you can see these are all rebated now. This one is the central mullion, so this one is going to have the rebates on both sides. I made so much grated cheese, look at this. Oh my god. I just want to jump in it. So I do have a little bit of a, not exactly a problem, but something that I need to think about. So One of our glazing units is 1133 tall, the other glazing unit is 1074. So I have approximately 60 millimeters to make up in the height. So obviously the horizontal width is super easy because I can just change where I put this central mullion. Vertical height is a bit different because obviously this bottom rail is one piece. I think I can probably just put a piece of wood on top of it. I don't know if that's going to work. Obviously I need to get the rebate up on the other side by 60 mil as well. If I have something which needs to look like this, then from here to here is actually 70 mil. So, well, I mean, can I make that? No, I've got 60 mil section pieces. So it's going to be a bit interesting working out how to do this. I might just put a slip at the bottom and a slip at the top and call it quits, just have it centered. Basically, I need to not spend too long on this. I'm trying to get as much of this done today as possible. I don't think I'm actually going to get it done today, just because I did start so late. So I've got the top and bottom rails cut. I've got the rest of it all planed up. I just need to cut the verticals. Probably screw them together actually. I can probably get quite a lot done today, so let's get as far as I can. You can really see now I've got this frame together, just how much narrower the whole section is without the added width of the casements on there. So because I'm doing these two windows butt edge next to each other, I've got this whole section that is going to need to be infilled. I always think of just packing it out with bits like 2x4, but I think actually, seeing as I've got that rebate top and bottom, I should just put in a piece of plywood because it's all temporary anyway, so I don't think it's going to really make a considerable difference. But it does mean that frame is very nearly done now. So I've sort of reached the end of my time for today. It's being on for 8 PM now, so I'm going to head off home. I still need to work out what's going to happen with that vertical spacing issue because the casement, like the amount that we're off horizontally, because of the lack of casement, we are also going to be off vertically because of the lack of casement. So I do just need to have a think about that. Now I've got plenty of wood here, so I can just cut in a new infill. Might need to make a new vertical on the right hand side because it has to screw through one of the verticals into the wall. Same on the other side. On this side it's going to be fine because it's coming through the glazing, through the side of the glazing. On the other side currently there is no vertical. So I need to add a vertical, cut a piece of ply to fit that right hand slot, infill my vertical sections to make them the right size. And this is all still using slightly estimated calculations, just because I can't get that glass out until I'm ready to fit the window, because I don't want to just have a hole in the house. Alrighty, we're back again today. Just about 11:30, so a little bit of an earlier start. Hoping to get the whole window finished in the hole today. I'm going to need to work out something about how to get the vertical infill, and I'm also going to need to pull out the window from its hole without damaging the glass. So that's my day. I need to try and make sure that the glazing units actually fit the frame, and then making the adjustments I need to, route on mouldings that I want, and also paint it all in a day. It's going to be quite a long one, I think. So let's get started. The frame is now all ready, so I've done these little infill pieces at the bottom. It's not the neatest job, but it's going to be secure. The real goal for this is just to have something quickly to fill that window hole. So I'm not worried about it being, something that lasts for years. This only needs to last probably, I don't know, maybe 18 months or something before I get all of the windows replaced. This side is for the infill, so I need to cut, but I'm not going to do that until I've actually tested that the windows fit the frame. I've had to get a worryingly far way through this before actually testing the size. So I suppose the next thing for me to do, remove the windows from the frame and test fit them. And then ideally, I will also clean them because these windows are so cloudy. So I really need to try and get these restored a little bit. I'm hoping it's just like ingrained dust on the inside and outside that I can just use some kind of cleaner on. So yes, there we go. We're getting towards it now. Just need to make this a little bit more glazed. A little tip that a lot of people don't seem to know is that almost every single hand saw that you get, like on these standard ones, has a 90 and a 45-degree angle on it. So if you're ever needing a square, you just put it up against your piece of wood like this. So it's right up on that shoulder, just knock it in to make sure you're right square. And then you have 90 degrees on the back of the blade there. Equally, if you're doing 45-degree angles, you have that other section, put that to 45 degrees, and then you have your mitre cut. There we go, it's all in. So it's quite long. I think it's now 11 p.m, so it's been 11 hours pretty much non-stop today, although waiting for the paint to dry was my pause. I clearly didn't wait long enough. It got to 10 o'clock and then I put a heat gun on it to try and speed it up. It's only if you had one coat of exterior paint. I was hoping it would seal it a little bit, although I know that that's really futile. I'll probably give it another coat tomorrow. It gets a bit harder. Oh, actually not tomorrow, on Sunday. It gets harder for me to do it because I can't actually get to the outside other than climbing down into the light well. So I guess that'll be what I do, because obviously this is non-opening, hence this really wide section. There we go, it fits the original glass and it's now actually secure. I know that this will not last for very long. This is just simple pine studding. It is not treated timber, fully acknowledging that it is not built to last. However, it's not built to last intentionally as well, because I just needed something cheap that would be secure, that I could, basically entrust the security of my house with. Still a little bit of a gap underneath for water to run in. We need to reinstate a drain in the bottom of that light well. Or what I was actually thinking, because it was so nice to sit on that windowsill today when there was no window there, I reckon just putting like a nice little like a light well cover, maybe some sort of leaded glazed thing, would be really nice. You'd just be able to sort of sit with your head in the flowers, which would be lovely. And then you would have that additional space there, which I think would be, I think it would just make this room feel a bit bigger, deal with the problem of the light well break, not having a drain. And yeah, I just think that would be a good idea. So I think I'll probably try that at some point, but that is a future plan now. This window is going to hold, probably, I hope, for at least a year. And then after that point, it doesn't really matter. I am ready for bed, so I'm going to go finish packing up, finish cleaning up, and drive home.